All right. Thank you all so much for joining us today for our first Wisdom Wednesday Mastermind. This is the very first time we've ever done this as a group. For those of you that know me, my name is Michael Creed, and we have done a lot of Wisdom Wednesdays over the years. Many of them have been in person. Some of them become big events like the one that we had in October. But for this year, we're trying to be a little more flexible, bring in more people. We're 50 state lenders now. And so limiting to live events is actually, not great. We can support other people in other markets very quickly and easily on Zoom. And that's what's going on today to get that started. So this is being recorded. It will be published off to YouTube, so it's going to be live in the future. We'll also probably snip it up. And the format for these mastermind series will look a little bit different than what you might expect in other areas. I've got about a 15 to 20 minute presentation that I'm going to share with you on the front end. Alex will be doing part of that as well. He'll introduce himself here in just a moment. And then after that, we've got some questions. So it's kind of the best way to look at it would be theory, then practice, right? And so we've lined up a handful of professionals, most of who are here on the call already, to answer some pre-thought of questions that have to do with the topic today as well. However, as we go through those questions, you, as someone who wasn't as part of the hey, here's what I do all the time and why, might have something to add to, and we will absolutely open that up. We're expecting about 22 people total. We're at 17 now, so this is a great size group. In fact, larger than what we thought it would be, and so that's why we've got to go a little bit more formal with that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the presentation. Just give me 1 second to get that going, and then we'll jump right in. Let's see here. All right. So today's topic, as you're aware, is winning 2026 buyers in a scroll first world, right? Which is how to turn the online interest into signed clients. And so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. I've already introduced myself. I'm a mortgage advisor and the branch manager for Illuminate Bank here in the Milwaukee metro area. Alex, tell us who you are.
Yeah, so thanks, Michael, for the introduction. My name is Alex Arts. I am Michael's business partner, and I operate my branch up here in the Green Bay, De Pere, I'll call it the metro area. I'll be a little bit fancy with it and say that we're in the metro area up here. Been in the business now, it'll be 5 years in April, and really doing some really, really big things. Michael and I joined forces about August of 24. And we got a whole year in together last year. And we've seen some really amazing growth over the last year. And one of the big reasons why we have this mastermind and we want to go there is we want to share some of these momentum, some of these things that we're seeing with you all as our partners, as we really want to make sure that we're partnering together with you guys so that we can grow together.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing that, Alex. Congratulations on a record year for yourself, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
You into your team. So why does this matter in 2026? Well, we believe that agents and frankly loan officers who win are the one who can actually turn attention into conversations, not just likes, right? So the reality is we know this. Buyers start with a scroll, not a portal, right? There, if I have a client that's coming to me, their first step is not my application portal, right? They've silently vetted me, just like they're silently vetting you on social, Google, and now AI. Big time AI users are out there for these kinds of things. The 2026 Buyer Path program truly looks like this. They scroll, then they search. That's number one, right? Then they get down here where they're looking at your bio. They're going to DM you or maybe contact you through your just messaging apps. That's the DM or comments. That's the word I'm looking for. Then there's going to be a consult. You're going to move to a contract at that point, and then you're going to close them, and it's your job to retain them, right? Just like it's ours. So that's how the path works, and it's this infinite loop. It's just over and over and over again because they go back to your scrolls after you've closed them, right? And so you're not only looking for in your social platform and your social strategy new clients, you're keeping and retaining your old ones, which is why we have this infinity loop as the graphic. Got it? Very important to remember that. It doesn't stop at the closing. So here's two real examples we're going to go through. First, number one, an Instagram reel that had closed a buyer. It was just a short 30-second reel called 3 Things to Know Before Waiving an Appraisal Contingency. And the buyer had actually saved the post on Instagram. They followed my platform then at that point and then replied to a story poll that I had done later in the year. Ultimately, that moved to a DM. We set up a quick strategy call. We then got their representation by getting them to commit with us for their loan, and then they ultimately closed, and now they're a homeowner. It's a real story that I have. Now, this is one that I was really hoping to get this individual in today. It's a realtor I know here in the Milwaukee area, but he allowed me to share it. He couldn't make this meeting. This is a second example. He had a YouTube client. It was a relocation piece, and it was a longer form. So it's about 8 minutes. And it was talking about the cost of living in Milwaukee versus the cost of living in Chicago in 2025. The viewer had watched it, ultimately Googled that agent, like it says right on the screen, booked a call with that agent, and then relocated about 90 days later. And they currently live in the Milwaukee metro area as well. And so, two real stories that are there. So, what are we publishing so that buyers find and trust us? And here are a few examples for this. I'm going to minimize my little participants thing. So you have three different types of content here, as it mentioned. So a lot of these watch me solve a real problem, right? So you're just being aware of the problems that you have. I know Vanessa, she's joined us in here. She'll be talking a little bit later. She's really good at these talking, and it's in her newsletters and other things as well. But talking about problems that she's seen and how they've been solved. 30 to seconds. They're always vertical for the phone, and they talk about the problems that were solved. An example, how to get a VA buyer accepted with 3 other offers on the table, right? And then about another one, well, what would I do if I were you? That's an advice piece where you're giving direct scenario-based advice in plain language. And then what if I owned, like in this case, if I owned in the Pines and was thinking of selling in 2026? The Pines is just a neighborhood that's right here by where I live, actually. And so that's just one of the examples of advice pieces that you can give. And then simple hyper local breakdowns. Now, this is something that can be challenging for a lender to do because of compliance issues and redlining, but realtors are typically hyper local by nature, right? You work in certain areas all the time. And so you can do buyer comparisons that buyers really want through your social piece. So, what does $500,000 get you in the Green Bay suburbs, right? What does that get? An example of that.
Yep.
So now we've got some additional prompts here Alex is going to walk through.
Yeah, and before I go into this, I always like to, I mean, there's a reaction button you guys can go in there. What I would love to hear before I go through these is just a real pop of hands or reactions is how many people currently either use short format on your socials or use short format for direct messaging or marketing within your groups. I'd love to see everybody at least put a hand up, do something for that, because I know Michael and I do a lot of short format in general, but it's always like to see, who all uses short format already. But there's a lot of categories that you can do this short format, right? Prompts for first-time homebuyers, FTHB, right? I
Where
mean,
do you want the cursor?
you know that we are notorious for acronyms, so FTHB, first-time homebuyer. I mean, here's 3 super simple prompts to talk about when you're doing short format or to create content to engage people to start conversations, right? Here's how far $2,500 a month will really go in your area, right? That's an easy one. Right? How far will that take you? That's a really common price point. 3 myths first-time homebuyers in Brookfield need to stop believing, right? We are constantly fighting TikTok gurus, misinformation, the news. That's a nice, easy one where it can come direct from the source, showing that you're the expert. And if I were renting myself in Oconomowoc and wanted to buy in 12 months and then move forward, right? These are nice, easy, short 15, 30, maybe even 60-second long clips that you can easily record, create some content, and engage people to start having conversations. Next one, move-up buyers, right? These are all of our favorites, especially for our realtor friends, because usually for our move-up buyers, that means you get a sell and a buy out of the same one. So that's a 2-pop. Those are always favorites, right? But here's nice 3 easy ones that you guys can use for short content to engage those people and start those conversations. Should you sell first or buy first in Green Bay in 2026, right? How much equity do you really have after the costs, right? Because there's a lot of people that really don't quite understand what that move up entails or what that might mean, right? So all you're doing is you're engaging with them and just planting that seed of, hey, it's on my mind, but I don't know exactly what it is. So let's have a conversation. If I owned a 3-bed and now needed a 4-bed before school starts, and insert your best language that you can in there, right? If I need to do that and I was looking for school to start, you can systematically go through neighborhoods, kind of like what Michael was talking about. Talk about specific neighborhoods, things like that. The real key on this is you have to place the emphasis with the focus on timing, the equity, and kids and school calendars. We all know that our business is kind of surrounding school schedules, right? So the time to start posting this is probably now because people are going to typically want to close between June and September because they don't want to reload kids in the middle of school season, right? And then the last one that we have that we talk about for the next one is three palms for reloads, right? Michael and I work in all 50 states. So this is a nice one that we can always do, but especially with your businesses, you might have clients that are here that are reloading to the other states and you still want to grab them because it earns you the opportunity for the referral outside of state. Or you might have a great circle of clients that you've already served that you're like, hey, friends, come live where I am. Come be my neighbor, right? Come live with me. Come live in my neighborhood. This is the best place to be. Great content to post to start engaging those conversations, right? Cost of living in Green Bay, versus Appleton, Houston, commute, right? Like kind of start placing some of these hot ticket items where you see where the market is trending, where people are moving to and moving away from. Use that as your pinpoint to start drawing attention or, bringing to show that, hey, I'm here for you. Three mistakes relocation buyers make in their first 30 days in town. This is where you really have the opportunity to thrive as the expert to say, hey, listen, if you're going to be moving to this area, these are the things you need to know. These are the places you need to know. These are the places you need to be. All those things so that when they walk in, they feel like they're already here. Right. And then last one, if I were moving to Mequon and knew nobody, I would, man, and this is where you can do your local showcases. You can talk about great contractors, great people you need to get to know, community involvement that needs to happen, charities, all this kinds of things. This gives you the opportunity to really insert yourself into your community and show that, hey, I'm here and I know what's going on.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. I really appreciate it. So, when you're wondering what the scroll to conversation looks like, there are three C's to remember. You've got clarity, right? So, you must have to have that. You need to know who you serve. Like it says, create an ideal persona. And what are their changes that you need to be aware of their pains? And I'll get to that in just a moment. Ultimately, what are they going to do after the scroll? Conversion, right? Invitations that feel like help, not pressure. Do you make it easy and frictionless to learn more, right? Like downloading a playbook, path to property, those kinds of things. If you follow me, I do this stuff all the time and generate leads through this way. And I know Alex does as well. And then a calendar link, simply using a micro site link like social in your social bio. If you use ManyChat, where it'll automatically respond for you, DM automation, you can book a call or a coffee depending upon what your preference is, and then you can go from there. So doing a little bit of a deep dive here, I want to show you what clarity looks like. So building your buyer avatar. We don't know what this person looks like yet. That's intentional, but we need to figure it out. So who do you help the most, right? Is it first-time buyers? Is it move-up buyers? Is it relocation? Is it downsizers? For example, my personal avatar for my business is a traditionally educated, so at least a bachelor education, high income earner, oftentimes a high net worth person as well, who values systems, strategy, and structure around their mortgage. That is the avatar for my client. I know that that's what they love. That might be a first time buyer who's prepared, right? It could be a move up buyer, a downsizer, really all of these. All those fit for me, the people that fit into it. So, what are their demographics? What are their psychographics? What price ranges and areas do you know best? When you're talking on the phone, can you feel comfortable to just rifle off what you need to know? And then what are the top three problems that you're going to solve for them, right? So again, less time and less friction is so important to these clients. How do you solve their problems? And then make sure you've got testimonials that are readily available as well. That's how you build your avatar. Now, if you don't know where to start on that, go back. I'm going to go back for a second. It's not on the slide, but there's one thing that's really helpful. These three testimonials. Find the testimonials of the favorite clients you had, because that's probably where your avatar is. The people you jived with the most, the ones you loved working with, the ones you miss not working with anymore now that they're closed. That's your avatar. It's at least an indication of what that avatar looks like. So then conversion, DM and story CTA. CTA stands for call to action examples. So here's three of them right on the screen right now. Out of curiosity, what's your ideal timing to move? Right? Very low pressure. Would you be open to a quick 10-minute call so I can answer a question about buying in, and hopefully you know what city they're in this year? Or in a story, want my city buyer checklist? Reply checklist and I'll send it, right? And so you can really attract the people that are looking for those areas. And then lastly, it's the calendar. You have to make it easy to book with you. You make your post, you get the DM, you give them a link to a 15-minute buyer game plan. I use Calendly, so does Alex. It's the easiest. In fact, if you guys aren't familiar with Calendly, you are because you used it to register for this event. That's Calendly, the system where you picked the date, put your information in, and then the one that sent you all those reminders, it's coming from that system. So it's very easy to use. I love it. There are other platforms out there that other people like, a little bit more economical, but the reality is Calendly for a single account, I believe, is $15 a month. So it's really not that expensive. And then include a sample name in there, like the calendar link, the buyer game plan, like it says. My biggest download is my Path to Property playbook. People download that one fairly regularly. Having that dialed in is very important. So next up, a true lender partnership is also important. With us, we can co-brand videos for your first-time buyers, move up in relocation, really any scenario that you want. We just want you to figure out who your avatar is first, and then we can help you market to it. Monthly first-time and move-up buyer on-demand webinars that we will co-host with you. You lead the show, bring your people, we'll come in as the expert. We'd be happy to help you with that. And then there's also mortgages under management program. And guys, this is a game changer. We have amazing technology that allows us to adopt people who already have a mortgage so that we can manage it for them. I've already closed about $5 million in refinances in the last month because of managing mortgages that we have for clients, because our system and our automation is there telling them when it's the right time for them to make a refinance. So if that's something you're interested in learning more about, talk to Alex or I, and we'll absolutely have that conversation with you. At the end of the day, retention is a huge part of my business, and it is a huge part of yours. If it's not, you're missing an opportunity there. So why does this make your pipeline more stable? Well, when you have better educated buyers, because they're starting in your social and they're seeing it, you have fewer surprises and far fewer fall throughs. You'll also have more repeat business. As it says on here, clients feel guided, not sold. And then you have a content system that compounds over time instead of one-off lead blasts. My metrics generally between all of my socials, I have about 20,000 to 30,000 views on my videos every single month. And I'm sure there are people on this chat that have even more than that, or on this call. And the reality is that it's a very different experience for you as a business owner than the lead blast, like it says off here, where you're kind of getting that together. So this is what a weekly action plan looks like. It's called scroll to signed weekly plan, right? Have a hyper local market video update. Just do one of those a week. Do one short video that's problem solving. Get a proof post, right? Your client story, a testimonial, or even just a behind the scenes photo. 5 DMs to new followers that are or warm leads or past clients. It can be anybody. And then also one collaboration idea, right? Whether that be filming something with us as a lender or a local business. If you do that every single week, your business will change, and it will be much more fun, frankly. I love DM past clients. I'm generally talked to about 30 a week through Facebook Messenger alone. And it's an awesome opportunity to just reconnect with people, see what's going on with their life and going that way. So this is one simple way to do it.
Yeah, and the
So
one thing, Michael, and I'll interject in here just real quick for you guys is, the big thing to keep in mind is your brand specific for your own personal brand is going to be different. Every person down the list, all 18 of you are going to have a different personal brand. I mean, if you want to kind of get an idea of how different Michael and I are when it comes to our social media content, go look at Michael's page and go look at my page. It's completely different. We're both
yeah,
seeing amazing results in there, but it's different, right? It's a
yeah,
different feel, and it has to be genuinely you. That's the big thing to keep in mind is when you're doing this kind of stuff, it has to be you. This is
right.
your personal brand that is out there saying that I want to go with Jake, or I want to go with Jerry or Jason or Vanessa or whoever, right? Like, I want to go to them because I generally like them, right? I like their content, I like their energy, I like what they're all about. It doesn't feel forced and fake, right? Like, so it's gonna be organic. If you're not doing it already, it organically will start molding itself into what it should be. So that's just my one
Absolutely.
piece of advice for you guys.
I think that's huge, Alex. I mean, if you follow Alex, you know his social media looks a little bit like a goofball. He is a goofball. He's serious about everything, systems and structure, but you're going to laugh when you watch his reels. Mine are very rarely that. It's usually very serious, educational, sometimes with there's an opinion in there, motivational, that kind of thing. But you're absolutely right. Two very different things, two very different brands. Both show great results. So this isn't a one size fits all. It's ultimately figuring out who you are and who your brand is. So just a quick recap. Consumer decisions, they're made through the tools that they use. They've absolutely changed, right? Like I mentioned, AI. The personal referral still is huge. However, they're checking you out on social media before they're reaching out to you, and so you've got to be present. Like number two here says, what does being invisible communicate to your client? If someone refers you and you don't get seen or found on social media or on the internet in general through Google search or an AI search, so those generative searches, what does that tell to your clients, right? And then, of course, we've got this plug and play weekly plan with the 3 C's that I was talking about for your avatar. So you have your clarity. You go back to and sorry guys, I totally slipped my mind. Clarity, the conversion, and then the calendar, right? I was missing the middle one. So the clarity is your avatar, the conversion is actually the conversation, and then the calendar is making it easy for them. And then the last thing here is just a quick question for you to be thinking about into the future. Is it time for a lender upgrade? Many of you work with Alex and I already. I appreciate that, but there are some of you on this call that don't. And we'd love the opportunity to talk more about you and your business into the future if you found this helpful or want more information. So here's how you reach us. Just shoot us a text or an email, and then we can happily send you. Like I have a page. It's just one page on my website that will allow you to see all of my social media, whether you want to, you see an icon for everything, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever your thing is, TikTok, YouTube. I can share that with you easily, and you can follow me on whatever platforms you desire. Alex can get you his as well, depending upon. Just let us know what your favorite ones are, and we'll send you the connections for those. So with that, kind of jumping past the end of this presentation here, we've got. I want to answer any questions that you might have about what we shared, but also I have some specific questions that I'm going to ask other people too. So if you have questions about what we shared just in this first 20-minute presentation, please jump in now. And then I'm gonna ask a few additional questions and bring up the people that have been so kind as to jump in here to talk for us. So anything coming to mind, unmute yourself, jump in. This is where the conversation and the interaction starts.
Don't everybody jump to unmute yourself at once. That's all I got to say.
All that
Michael,
information is like very, very relevant, you guys. So thank you for that. And you gave me some like new ideas for some things too. So I appreciate that.
I love it. Thanks, Vanessa.
yeah.
Jason, this is being recorded. To answer your question in the chat, there are a couple in the chat. It'll be recorded, and once it's live on YouTube, we'll just send it to you, so you'll be able to re-access it and watch it there for sure. So, just remember that, guys. This is going to be public later, so make sure you say things the way that are that way for that piece, right? So, and then there's also some comments in there from Vanessa about Stand Store. So, just additional information that's there. Thanks for sharing that, Vanessa. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So
you know what? And I'll give a comment to everybody. And this is something that I share with a lot of my partners that I work together with, is that, what I would urge you is that if you're doing it, keep on rocking it, right? If you're just getting started, go out there and just spend like 30 minutes a day looking up different realtors, different people in different markets, and just see what they're doing. Follow them, see what's going on, have it pop up. Most of that stuff you could probably copy paste, rebrand yourself, change it up a little bit so that you don't have to sit there and go, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do tomorrow? What am I going to do next week? There's so much great recyclable content that you should be able to get out in the world. Just make it your own, right?
Right. You can swipe and adapt, right? And then, like Jason says, look them up on MLS to see if it's working, which is definitely wise. All right, so here's a question one of the questions that we had prepared in advance that I want to make sure everybody walks away with answers on. And actually, I'm going to kind of line you up. Marlene, I'll have you come in first and answer this one, but then also Vanessa and Lisa, I know you have answers prepared for this question too. So all three of you found this one to be helpful, and I can't wait to hear all three of your perspectives. So, but Marlene, you're up, and Vanessa, you're on deck. Here's the question. What's something buyers say or do online today that immediately tells you are serious versus just scrolling? You're muted, Marlene. There you go.
Now I'm unmuted. Okay. When you're old, it gets harder.
It's all good.
Okay. So whenever they ask a question, I answer them as fast as possible. I know there are people out there who talk about boundaries and work-life balance, and I'm good with work-life balance, except I don't like the boundaries thing. Like if I'm going to answer you between 8 and 5, I'm not going to get the client. I don't think. I think today people want to hear from you and they want to hear from you right away. So if anybody makes a comment and I can, I have something that a response to them that will be helpful, I reach out to them right away. And then they go, oh, wow, that was fast, and I like that. That was fast. I think when they ask a question, that means they're more ready, because otherwise they're more standoffish.
Yeah.
And when standoffish, then they find it annoying that you're reaching out and getting in their face. We don't want to
Yep.
get in the face. We want to be helpful.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, what you're describing is speed to lead. When they asked the question,
Yeah.
they raised their hand. They created a lead in your social media, and you got to it first, right? Now, one other thing, we know this happens. In fact, this is going on right. It was going on just this weekend with one of our colleagues, mine and Alex colleagues down in Florida, where his social media, and he was getting people to engage, and then there was his competition, another mortgage originator who was DMing the client's answer, or those people answers to the questions, trying to get ahead of it. So just a little behind the scenes, if you've got someone who's like that, right? I saw your reaction there, Marlene, and I'm sure all of you had the same one. If you have someone like that in your market, there's a very real chance that when you are interacting in a public space like Facebook, Instagram, whatever, that your competition is DMing that person before you get back to them. So there's also value to that speed, and that you were the first one versus the other one. Now, whether we agree that that's good or bad, or you're that guy, so to speak, or gal, that's for a different day. But that happens. We just experienced it with one of our colleagues the other day. So don't forget about that. Even though that's not you, somebody like that might be out there in your public sphere. So thanks for sharing that, Marlene. Vanessa, you are up, and I know you wanted to talk a little bit about lead magnets for this particular question. So I can't wait to hear what you have on this too.
Yeah, so I've definitely noticed the same thing, like speed to lead, whenever you have people that are commenting or specifically maybe sending you a DM or something like that. That is like really important. I try to be on it as quickly as I can, but I also have like two young kids and I'm a single mom, so like sometimes that's hard. But I try to get back to people as soon as possible, and I think just the atmosphere of today is like people want immediate responses. So if you can be quick to it, that's great. There's also other ways that you can sort of get around that, and you had mentioned that earlier, actually, with ManyChat and some of the other tools that are out there. When it comes to like if somebody comments a specific keyword. So if you have what's called a lead magnet, so sometimes you'll see people do like relocation guides, they'll do like local guides. Buyer and seller guides aren't as effective anymore, just because it's not necessarily information that people are going to consume, because it's a long process, right? People don't typically come to us and say, "I want a buyer guide." Like that's not really the things that they're looking for anymore. They're more so looking for things that are like really hyper local related. So content related to hyper local is really winning right now, specifically with real estate agents. And so that like people are looking for lifestyles and where they want to live and kind of where they fit in. So if you can find something that is simple for them to digest, like gives information on the community, you'll start getting more connections with other agents in different areas or people looking to relocate to your specific area. But speed to lead can help with that by figuring out how to use something like ManyChat that the user only has to comment one word. So you're making it really simple for them to actually get what you're trying to give them. And then it'll automatically DM them that specific resource. So for me, what I found effective is focusing on like one specific lead magnet or one specific like value add thing for people out on the internet, and then I create content around that and push them to do the DM to get this specific resource. And then when they do that, they end up getting a message from me right away, and then a link that goes into email my email system, which I use as Flowdesk, which is really user friendly and it works out really well for helping me build my email list. So when I've got people that maybe aren't necessarily ready right now, but they get on my email list, and then I have a couple emails that get sent to them after that, helping build credibility and helping them get to know me after I deliver, whatever that guide is or something like that. But that's a really good way to help get people, give them a ton of value up front, and then hopefully build that trust where, when they're ready to pull the trigger on either buying or selling, you're the person that they think of. And then once you get them on your email list, and if you're providing enough value, that's how you kind of keep them in the chain outside of, making that connection of a phone call or scheduling a like one-to-one meeting of something
I
with
love
that.
it.
So,
So on your lead magnet, which is basically a landing page that allows them to enter information, just to be clear, guys, that's what Vanessa's talking
yep.
about. Are you asking for name, email, and phone number, or just name and email?
I'm just looking for name and email. And then
First
I'm
name
trying to,
or
yes.
last, or just first name?
Yeah. Yeah, first and last name,
Okay,
and then their email. And usually in the DMs, like after it DMs them, whatever that lead magnet is, I'll usually wait like maybe 12 to 24 hours, and then I'll personally DM them and try to start qualifying them at that point by asking specific questions or seeing, trying to figure out like why they downloaded it, maybe get to know them a little bit more, have them get to know me a little bit more. So that seems to
perfect.
work well.
Thank you. And the reason that I asked that is because all of my lead magnets are the same thing, but I also require a phone number. And so I get less leads from it because of that, but that's by design. So if you're trying to, brakes, gas pedal, whatever that looks like for leads, and it also really depends upon your automation and follow up, right? For us, it's quite personal, and so we don't have a ton of automated follow up that's out there, and so we're looking for phone numbers. But that's you will not you. I'm just wanted the reason I asked that, Vanessa, is I want to be really clear for everybody on the call. If you start asking and making a required field a phone number, you will get a lot less people that will actually fill it out and download your guide. And that's just a choice you have to make. Once in a blue moon, in fact, this just happened the other day, people will just make it all up and get through it anyway. Those are actually the smart ones, the ones I really want to talk to, because that's the kind of person that I am. I love them. Like I'm like, you're my people, right? Like they're going to do it because you can still get the content and be fake about your stuff. But whatever the case may be, that's pretty rare. Most people will stop. So the idea of getting their contact information with an email and then creating an email marketing list, which, like I said, I actually called you out. I'm not sure if you were on the meeting yet or not, but I love your emails. They're always fun. People enjoy reading them. They're real. We know you write them. They were not provided by some CRM. They're you personally. So awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Lisa, what do you have to say about that? And just so we're clear for everybody, again, the question was, what's something buyers say or do online that immediately tells you that they're serious versus just scrolling?
Okay, I everybody had really good answers so far. I think, targeted questions, if they're asking you targeted questions when you reach out and start talking to them, the biggest thing that I see is that a lot of times you don't get engagement on your posts. And people, I think other agents sometimes are like, oh, it just doesn't work to keep posting. But I'll talk to people and they'll tell me that like they will give me like a synopsis of the last 2 years of my life. And I'm like, you have not reached out once, you have not commented on my post once, you haven't done anything, but they're sitting back following you and watching you. So I think it's really important that we continue to do all of the things. And then when they do reach out, they're definitely serious and ready.
Yeah, that's very true. And that happens to me all the time too. People that I don't know ever look at my stuff. They're like, they can tell me what I've been doing lately. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And the way that I'm bad at this, but I'm going to get better at it because I don't want to speak that over my life, is that I could ask them, like, hey, it would really help me out if you would once in a while just like or comment on this stuff, because that's how more people can see it. So if you're finding this information valuable, drop me some comments. Like, I watch that stuff, but that also means that the system will deliver it to more people. So if you find it valuable, other people do too. The more engagement that happens, the more people that get to see it. And of course, it helps me out too. So just a simple ask, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. But there's a large group of lurkers on social media, right? So awesome.
Right.
Thank you for sharing that. So in the nature of time here, I want to get to this next question here, and Marlene and Lisa both have answers for this one too. Does anybody else have anything they want to pipe in with on before we move on? Actually, does anybody else like burn in to say something? If you are, let's do it. I don't see anybody itching. All right, cool. So next question. Where do most agents lose buyer trust during the online to conversion to commitment journey? Marlene and Lisa both had something here. I'm curious what you all thought. Lisa, let's have you go first this time, and then Marlene, you'll be on deck.
Okay, I think with this one, it's all about, sometimes agents are using with all the technology that we have now, people are using chatbots and other ways to answer people very quickly, emails that go out. And then when it comes time to actually interact with the real live agent, they're really slow to respond. And I think people are like, okay, I look at your Facebook page, it looks really polished and professional. You answered me really quickly when I first engaged, and now all of a sudden there's a disconnect. And I think, you have to be, again, I mean, unfortunately, every single holiday lately, I have had to interact with people, a person that, like for the last year I've been working with, and they told me the market wasn't ready. On Christmas Day, she reached out to me that they were ready to get pre-approved. So I think a lot of times, yeah, it's not convenient, but I think, holidays, night, whenever, if somebody's reaching out for the first time, we have to be responsive, or sometimes they just go on to the next person. And I think, like actually listening to people and the questions that they ask and setting expectations and following up. I think those are the type of things, if you don't do that right away, people get frustrated with you and just move on.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. If we're going to be chatbotting them back in instant seconds on social, you better be prompt on your texts and um your phone calls and your emails as well. No doubt about that. I
Yeah, and the
found
other
with
thing, yeah,
Go
and
ahead,
the other thing
Alex.
I would lead in on this too, and this is something that I found, prior to my mortgage career, in my world that I was in, one of the things that I really took to heart is the platinum rule of life in general. I know we all know the golden rule, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. Um, and if you level up one level and you just say the platinum rule, it's treat others the way they want to be treated, or communicate with others the way they want to be treated, or that they want to be communicated with, right? If you look at all your clients across the board, not every one of them is just going to want to talk via text message, right?
Right,
Not
right.
every single one of them is just going to want just emails. There might even be some people that don't even want to talk on the phone, right? And I think that's what I've seen, at least, and what I've grown to notice, at least in this industry across that line, is you have to have a good understanding of how the client wants to be communicated with, how they want to be informed, how they want to be updated, because you have a much higher likelihood because you're respecting how they want to be communicated with.
Right. And you can relate that back to your social media strategy by just figuring that out as part of your qualifications and your questions, right? There's no hard part to that. The other thing I want to add, this is a little bit of a tangent piece too, but it'll just take a minute. I found that customers that reach out on the holidays oftentimes don't expect an answer on the holiday. They just want to be acknowledged and know that you're going to get back to them, right? So just the communication, it doesn't have to be, I'm going to drop everything and work for 3 hours in the middle of family time, right? It's simply acknowledging this is awesome and asking, "Hey, do you need this today? If you do, I'm here for it. If you can be, but otherwise, I'm free all morning tomorrow. And see what they
Yeah.
say. Most people
And
are just looking for acknowledgement. They're not, and
right.
you know that. So
I
that's
had two
awesome.
people I had two people reach out on Christmas Day, and one of them saying, "Hey, maybe we should get out of this deal." And I'm like, "Hey, Merry Christmas."
Let's talk
And
tomorrow.
yeah, how about we talk about this tomorrow? Would that work? I mean, so yeah, like you said, it doesn't have to be that you're having a long conversation, but they just want to be heard and
Heard.
know when you're going to talk to them.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much for that, Lisa. I appreciate it. Marlene, what did you have lined up for that you see most agents lose buyer trust during that journey from really just the online to the conversation to the commitment?
So I think it's the hardest to get them is from the online conversations, the texting, the email, whatever, to actually let's meet in person. I've got to find a house that they want to see. And I don't want to show them the house until they've talked to my preferred lender, which is the Creed team. And the reason that is because once Michael's team has them pre-approved, they are actually ready to buy a house. They're not, then I know they're really serious about buying. And that's when I want to make sure I don't lose them. And that helps me not to lose them because I've passed them off to somebody who's going to keep them, back and forth with me.
Sure.
I don't like to show people houses when they're not pre-approved, although sometimes I'll show them one because if I meet them, most likely my husband Jim and I are partners, and once he's talked to them inside a house and I make sure our communication is good, they don't want somebody else because Jim can actually help them understand stuff about houses that they didn't know and that their dad and their uncle who are coming along and trying to insert themselves didn't know also.
Sure.
So I think that the disconnect is where if you can't get to meet them. So
can't convert them. Okay.
Can't convert them.
I love that.
Client.
So Marlene, thank you for that. I'll send you your check later for that little spin. I want to be clear about a couple things.
That's actually true. Michael didn't tell me to say that. We've had people who are pre-approved by other people and we can't get them to closing. The reason we can't get them to closing is because they didn't have a real pre-approval. It was they went through a couple
to be fully transparent and real. There's been only one customer in the 11 or so years we've been working together that we declined that got a loan somewhere else. Every other one has not been able to do it. I know that for a fact because we track that stuff. And I still don't know how that one got it. I never figured it out. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And Alex's pre-approval, just so you all know, Alex's pre-approval expert is the same person as mine. So she used to be an underwriter, and she is amazing on the front end of these pre-approvals for these solid clients. So thank you for sharing that, Marlene. I really appreciate it. Does anybody else have anything they want to add in on that before we get to something to stop doing, which I'm always a fan of stopping things. But does anybody have any questions or any thoughts, comments of what working for you in this area? Again, just to remind you, the question was, where do you see most agents lose buyer trust during the online to conversation to commitment journey? All right, nobody's coming off mute. So Vanessa, this one is going to be for you, just as a heads up. So it is the question is this: what's one online tactic or habit that you've stopped using because it no longer converts? I can't wait to hear this one.
I don't know. I might get butchered by people, but I did all the same things that I typically see as most common things that most agents end up doing. But I stopped doing what would be considered super educational content, like terms in the industry, like what does a pre-approval mean? Like just very, very generic stuff like that is what I've stopped doing because it doesn't work. It doesn't keep people engaged. And I don't want to say I pull out all educational content and stop doing it. It's just I do it in a different way. So I try to do that educational stuff within storytelling. So every interaction that I have with a client, every transaction, there's always usually several stories that you can pull out of that. And that's kind of where I pull in Chat GPT and in trying to pull those things out and help me get a coherent story figured out.
Sure.
And I've also stopped doing hi, my name is, in the very beginning of any sort of video content. I've taken that out because people already know who I am by the name on my account. And if they're following me, or I'll maybe insert that and insert some bit of credibility after I've already stated a hook.
Yep.
So
I love that. So I don't know if you saw me.
Thank
you. Sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say? It's just how you what?
I was going to say I've just restructured my content so it's more of what I see working with other agents now, and then also adding in hyper local content and storytelling. Those are the two things that I really focus on because I know that that's actually working now. And then how you structure your videos makes a difference.
Huge difference. You got that. You need that hook in the first 2 seconds. And if you start with, hi, my name is Michael Creed. I just used up all that time. right?
Mhm.
So if I don't know if you saw me, if I was still on camera or not, we're being highlighted by Zoom when I walked away from my computer for a second, but I have this up on the mantle and you reminded me of it. I have this actually at my office too. But it's just be different, which is what you're describing, right? Be different. I would say you could also just say be you, right? It's as simple as that. You don't need to overthink this stuff. Just be who you are. And that happens. So you stopped being generic. If I'm hearing you correctly, because we were looking at things to stop doing, you stop being generic. You stop doing what maybe some coaching people were telling you to do that was just what they were selling to the masses. You stopped trying to be someone else and started being yourself.
Yeah, I stopped doing what every other agent in my market was doing to help me stand out. And it's really important too, and you mentioned this before, is to just like be authentic and be exactly who you are. Like I had people to tell me for years to filter myself and things like that. And like it didn't, when I tried doing that, it just didn't feel authentic. And that's how it came across in videos. And
Okay.
the more you get in front of a camera and
You,
start sharing your life and your
you
experiences
know,
and
I
things like that,
Ava
like
was asking
the
about being
the
the owner.
the
I
more
got it.
authentic you end up coming off to
Okay.
your audience.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And then I got it. If you hear me say that again, I mean the mute button. I'll find
Yeah, I
it.
got it, Michael. I got you.
So all right. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Vanessa. That's cool. I'm actually got one more for you that I want to ask. Where you were had lined up as being the only one that wanted to grab this question. So you're different in the way that you had lined up, and even in those areas. And this was the question that I wanted you to say today. What's one small agent that anybody on this Zoom call now or anybody watching the recording in the future could make this week to improve how buyers or even sellers experience them online?
I think honestly, I think the biggest thing is just like documenting your life and just like being real in how you talk with people. Because the last thing you want to do is come off a certain way online and then people meet you and they're like almost jarred because they don't feel like that's the same person. Everybody that I've either gotten referrals from other agents for clients for like relos and things like that, or um, buyers and sellers that have ended up doing business with me because they ended up finding my content online. Every single one of them has said like you're you are exactly the same person that I saw online. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is to like just be authentic and be yourself and just start doing it. Like everybody's cringy at first. And like I don't even look, and me and Alex had this conversation too.
Yep.
Like I don't even look back at my videos. I just do them and I post them and I forget about it because it doesn't help me to sit and nitpick. Like I've just gotten better over the years at like doing it. And now like this year I'm really trying to focus on like content and strategy and all of that. But in the beginning, like when you're just scared to get in front of a camera, it's just like doing it and doing it consistently and not worrying about what anybody else might be saying or how you feel about yourself
Yep.
because you don't like how you sound on camera or whatever, but it's just being authentic and doing it. That's
Yep.
that's the hard part of doing it and being consistent with it.
You're
Yeah,
absolutely right. Go
yeah,
ahead,
and
Alex.
I totally agree with that. And you know, the one piece I know I loved when we sat down, Vanessa, to talk about this because it was like no holds barred. Let's talk about all the BS and all the crap that went all in it, right? But you know, one recommendation, and you're exactly right, Vanessa. Like, be authentic, bleed in your family because people want to come to you because they're you, right? And if you're not doing video and you're not comfortable in it, Steve, I think I saw you or Sam in here. You
Sam.
said that you're
Yep.
not good at being in front of camera. Do you want to know my recommendation for being the easiest way on getting comfortable in camera? Is doing one-to-one content with the people that you work with. Has
Mhm.
anybody ever heard of that before?
Just explain it.
Yeah, okay, so one-to-one content. Everybody text messages like a fiend on this little piece of plastic that's in your phone. Instead of typing out your text message, pull up the camera, record yourself in the message that you're going to send, and send that person a video instead.
Mhm.
Just send a video instead. Because you know what? How many people have ever gotten a text message and you totally misinterpreted the inflection, the tone, the enthusiasm of what came across in a text message? It'll actually take you less time to record a one-to-one video text and send it to somebody than what it will to actually text it.
Absolutely. It's a great point. And
Do it with
so,
your
and then,
partners, do it with your friends, do it with those type of people, then maybe start working it into clients and then start working in that. And then all of a sudden now you're like, hey, I'm good at this. I know what I'm doing. I know where I need it to be. And then it starts going into content. And Vanessa, you're like a rock star walking around the house and doing content and doing cuts in between things. But then you just start becoming natural. You know how you need to react and how you need to do it. And then the fun part is you record all the B-reel stuff when you all mess up. And maybe every once in a while you put a blooper reel together.
those are always fun. They actually get a ton of traction. I love it. All right, for the sake of time, so we want to make sure we're ending on time here. I want to ask two quick questions, one to Marlene and then one to Lisa to kind of wrap it up before I tell you guys what's coming up for February. But Marlene, and I think you may have answered this already, just because of your and Jim's, your marriage and your partnership and his background in construction. But I want to make sure we make it clear, when online interest does turn into a signed client for you, what usually made the difference?
There we go. That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
The thing that makes the difference is that they like that Jim has knowledge of homes. We're not just building the dream. When we go into a home, we can build the dream, but we are true buyer's agents, where we're going to point out the good things about the house. We're also going to point out the bad things about the house. And we try to do it politely, because we know that we could be on camera at all times when we're in a house. But, pointing out, hey, this is old, that's not a deal breaker. And sometimes I have to say to Jim, so are you saying that's a good thing, or are you saying that's a bad thing? Because people are looking at him like, oh no, nope, that's not a bad thing. It's a neutral thing. It just is.
Okay.
It might bring money in the future. But once they see that there's value in that, we don't usually lose people at that point, once we've met them and show them that we're going to really be the person who's looking out for their best interests, not trying to get it together fast.
Perfect. Understood. Well, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And that's valuable, right? Understanding your client's context, right? What is it? Good, bad? Do they know what you mean? Right. So that's huge. So I love it. Thank you for that. Now, Lisa, if you have something to add to that one, I know that you do. Feel free to add it. And then I'm going to have you kind of wrap it up with looking ahead to 2026. What buyer behavior do you think will matter more than it does today, right? So as we move forward into this future year, what does that look like? So feel free to wrap us, and then I will tell you all what's up for next month before we're done.
Okay. I think, like we're in a whole different world now with Chat GPT, and I'm hearing a lot of stories about buyers that are actually going to chat and asking what they should offer on a house. And, they have access to all the listings online. It's a lot more data than they've ever had before. But at the end of the day, I think they need somebody to ask them questions and listen. And then, stories. I do a lot with stories from my past experience, because they don't want me to say, because I said so. They want to hear stories of why and what. And if you're a new agent, you use other people's stories, and it's okay to say, like, hey, one of the agents, that I know, this happened with them. And I think if you tell stories, it's just not you. And then they start to see you as more of an expert, because, the stories make sense. But, on the flip side of that, I don't know everything, and I'm not always right. I mean, last year I had clients that wanted a TOSA duplex with having to sell their house and no bump clause. And guess what? I'm like, no, that won't happen. But you know what? I listened and I did make it happen. And then their
Nice.
condo burned down that we needed to be able to close 4 days before closing. And I stood out there for 2 hours with them watching their condo burn down.
Oh
So,
my.
I have stories like that to tell people, but at the end of the day, I also listen, and I'm willing, even if I don't necessarily agree with it, I'm willing to go forward because clients have proved that they were right and I was not.
Yeah.
So I think that the online people that are getting all this data, they want to be heard, they want guidance, but at the end of the day, sometimes, you know, you have to take the chance and sometimes they fall on their face and they understand why you said it, but sometimes they were actually right.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. You know, you saw me do it even in this presentation. I grabbed somebody else's story, that the long form video in the lending world, where compliance will not allow us to post the like community stuff because of redlining and regulations that way. So you use somebody else's story to make a point, right? I mean, in this case, the audience, you guys, it's a colleague. So here's the thing. At the end of the day, every single one of us is helping people with the largest transactions of their life every single day. I do, and you do. Anybody watching this video later, if you're in the real estate or mortgage industry, you're also helping people with the largest transactions of their lives. And so therefore we need to treat it like that, which is really what you're saying, Lisa. Let's talk about it. Let's not be a robot. Let's be a human. Let's make everybody feel comfortable. So I love that. So first of all, I want to thank Marlene, Lisa, and Vanessa for being prepared today. Jenna, if you watch this on the video later, she was going to be our fourth person because of the windstorms that are happening here. She's no power. So no power, no internet. So we're missing one of our four panelists. I thank you too, Jenna, for being lined up. But for all four of you, and Alex as well as a co-host, thank you so much for your time today. You guys provided immense value. A few additional follow-ups that will happen once I stop the recording. I'll send them off. You'll get the chat. You'll get the recording once it's edited and ready to rock and roll. But also next month's topic, you'll be getting an invite for that in the next couple of weeks, is structuring offers that sellers say yes to when affordability is tight. And we're there right now. Sure, affordability is not quite as tight as it was 2-3 months ago, but it's still pretty tight for most people in the Wisconsin market, particularly anybody really in the interior of the country, because the inventory is where it's at. So with that, I'm going to stop the recording, and thank you all again for joining.